activities. So I think through the process of targeting that Epic Fury has been able to go through, certainly that.
And if you want me to pause it, bro, so you can give commentary, let me know.
Targeting package has gone after those sites, but we haven't been able to do an effective bomb damage assessment. The effects-based operations that we're all about, which is to conduct an operation and then be able to pressure test what it looks like, what were the results. And I think that's what we're seeing right now, that the Iranians have indicated not only are they immensely politically resilient, but militarily resilient as well.
To your point, there has been evidence gathered of Iran recovering some of its missile launchers, and you see some of the dump trucks there, the front-end loader as well. So it seems like a lot of this is mobile, much of it hidden underground. The Times is reporting that Iran retains roughly 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile, including ballistic missiles and cruise missiles.
And this is where the foreign minister came in and said that they're at 125% pre-war. I believe it, and I'll tell you why. They've had quite a bit of time to get to get their stockpile back up. And the important thing that you guys need to know is that the Iranians make everything domestically, chat. So when you make everything domestically, your drones and your missiles and everything else like that, well, you obviously can go ahead and easily get your stockpile back up very quickly, especially when you make it domestically. Yeah. All their stuff is made domestically, despite the fact that they have crippling sanctions. I mean, look, bro, the Iranians are very smart people. They've been able to, oh, my thing froze. They're very smart people. They have high IQ. And they've been able to kind of deal with, this is how they've been able to fight back against the sanctions.
Yeah, 100%. And I think 125% is probably closer to accurate. I think it's definitely more than 75%. I think intelligence has a reserved estimate, and whether that's because of the fact that they just don't have the full picture because all this stuff is happening underground, or the fact that they're trying to be conservative, not to scare people. I mean, intelligence is intelligence. They're going to be honest about these things, which is why it's not serving really the agenda or favoring Trump or Marco Rubio or Pete Hegseth's rhetoric. And Iran is very intelligent. Just recently now, I read a couple articles that Iran is fondling with the idea of cutting these submarine internet cables, these fiber optic cables under the water, which is what powers internet. If people don't know, I think a good deal of internet and its responsibility of function across the world actually happens underwater. You have these fiber optic cables that connect every single country. They're called communication cables. And Iran is now flirting with the idea of using Chinese weaponry to go down, anchor against these cables and pull them out of the water, or really just cut them and disrupt them. And they can cut off connection to countries primarily like India is the one that would be antagonized first. And so, that's also something that they're flirting with. And the Strait of Hormuz is their water. That's kind of their backyard. And so maybe they're going to start taxing for other countries having their fiber optic cables running through the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to be something else they'll make money on. And so they're really squeezing all the juice out of the lemon here. They're making sure that this war can be as painful, not only for the United States, but for the world as much as possible. And, I saw Patrick Bet-David talking about that, and maybe we can react to it. It's funny that he's talking about that, and he was also like pro-war just like 6 or 7 weeks ago. However, regardless, Iran is still got a couple things up their sleeves that they have not utilized. And that internet route is something that they may try and exercise if the United States, again, launches strikes. Like if they launch strikes, we've got the Gulf countries, we've got the Strait of Hormuz to worry about, we've got U.S. casualties to worry about if we operate this ground element, as well as now the internet situation with these fiber optic cables underground in the water. And I think like every mile is around $450,000, $500,000 to build or construct. And a lot of these cables belong to the big tech companies like Facebook, Meta, and others. So it's a concerning reality that can effectuate in maybe the next few weeks if the United States resumes strikes. And Iran has showed they don't have any real red lines, right? They're just ready to do whatever they need to do if it means this is an existential threat for them. Like this is for their existence. So there's no doubt that's definitely not off the table.
Absolutely. And for them, they have nothing to lose. That's the other thing people got to understand is like they have nothing to lose at this point.
At all.
Since they have nothing to lose.
Yeah. Obviously, that means that as we look at the range that Iran is capable of reaching, there is still an enormous threat that it poses in the region.
Yeah, it does, and it will. We have to be very clear-eyed about what the effects are of this operation. as we've indicated, the Iranians have been able to resist the onslaught of Epic Fury. And let's be frank, that has been immensely well executed. But any nation that is relying on, its definition of
Now, if it because here's the thing too, also. So, guys, let me be clear about this. Operation Epic Fury, from a military standpoint, was executed very well, right? Very few casualties, if we're going to talk about that. We're talking about 13 casualties. I think there's actually more. But in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to war, when it comes to the ability to, utilize all the resources we have and, bomb them into oblivion, sure, they were able to do that. But you guys got to understand that war is done when war is conducted when diplomacy is no longer really a viable option. And you must understand that the whole purpose of war is to push your political will upon another group of people by force, right? If you can't handle it with diplomacy, hey, we want X, Y, Z. They say no, pound sand, then you go to war, right? If you are not able to get what you want via the war, even if you destroy them militarily, well, that's not really a W, especially in modern day warfare. Go ahead, Riyadh, you have something?
No, I just got a huge super chat. So Don DeMarco for you, Prince Slime sent $500. And he says, and maybe we can open up the phone line. Thank you so much, my friend. He says, hey, could you guys have me on the show for 5 minutes? I have some good talking points about the war never heard before. Look, man, I really appreciate the super chat. I don't know, maybe we did a call-in show last night. So I wish you were here last night because we spoke to
we'll start making
everybody calling
thing.
in for literally like 2 or 3 hours. It was in the middle of the night, granted. But you know what, man? If we don't have time tonight, I'm going to bookmark that. I'm going to make sure you can call in and get the chance to share conversation for an extended period of time, whatever you want to talk about. Unless we were doing it tonight, but I don't know what you wanted to do because I know Brett's like handling that and everything like that.
Yeah, no, I don't know if we'll do it tonight. And I know you probably can't. I know you're tired as fuck, bro. You didn't sleep at all, and you worked all last night, so I won't even hold you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We're grinding. Here, Prince Lime, I'll go ahead and get your stuff, and then we'll figure that out and set it up from there. Thank you so much for the big super chat, Don DeMarco, for you again. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much. You were saying though, go ahead, because you were making some great points.
I was just saying, so what I was trying to explain to everybody is like, it's important to understand that when you're going to war to achieve, strategic goals. And if you're not able to achieve those strategic goals militarily, well, it's kind of an L because you've expended an enormous amount of resources, lost soldiers' lives, etc. The whole goal to go to war is to get a strategic W. So if you're fighting a military that's significantly weaker than you, like the Iranian military is, and you're not able to get your strategic goals, well, that's effectively an L. And another reason why I would say that it's an L is because Marco Rubio literally said the other day that we're trying to get the Strait of Hormuz open. Effectively, they want pre-war conditions to come back. The country that is, or the side that's trying to get pre-war conditions back, typically is the losing side. So you can win militarily, but still lose strategically.
Yeah, and that seems like the crux that the dumb, dense magatards can't seem to understand. It's like inconceivable for them. It's like if they see destruction, and this is like the whole right-wing steelman position. It's like they see destruction, they see the fact that Iran is having to defend themselves, and they were, towards the end of the conflict and the bombing campaign, having a harder time keeping up than they were in the beginning. And so they see that as some like huge strategic W or military W. But I mean, it just doesn't mean anything. And we know that because Donald Trump has now opted for the economic warfare route. This has been an economic war for the last 40 days, really, or 30 days since the ceasefire started on April 7th. Yeah, we've had some strikes here and there. We hit the coastline, we hit Bandar Abbas, Keshem Island, and then Mineb. But ultimately, it really hasn't been like this kinetic strike back and forth, tit for tat situation that we saw in the first 40-ish days before the ceasefire came about. Yeah, obviously, Kuwait got a little bit of smoke with some drone attacks, I think, the other day. You had the Fujairah situation with the oil supply company, or the oil facility that was hit by allegedly Iranian drones, although they denied the ownership of that attack after like the second or third day. But, it's been economic. And that's because of the fact that Donald Trump understands Iran is now leveraging like every resource they have to make this painful for the United States. They're kind of extending their tentacles wherever they can and involving any country that may not have been involved prior. And so these are really worrisome things, and now they're entertaining the idea of cutting these internet cables in the Strait of Hormuz. Keep in mind, Egypt and the Suez Canal, they toll for those internet cables. These big companies like Meta and others, they make a lot of money. So maybe Iran's going to get a bright idea and go, we should make money. The Strait of Hormuz is our waters. It's in the Persian Gulf. We're going to start charging for these fiber optic cables underground, these maritime cables, the same way Egypt is. And we're going to make money on it. And we're going to ensure that we have something that's going to allow us to economically thrive so we can stay in an extended conflict with the United States for maybe even years. So that's really the concerning thing is Iran is good at making this attritional from a military perspective, but from a strategic perspective, they're full-blown winning. And there's not even like competition there. I can't even think of like more than 2 or 3 things that we're doing from a strategic perspective to make this painful from Iran. Somebody may bring up the blockade. The naval blockade is really ineffective. I mean, remember, 4 Sundays ago, approximately, Donald Trump had said their pipeline is going to blow up because of the lack of oil. And so the pressure is going to build up. It's going to blow up on Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning comes, nothing happens. And the parliament spokesman, Mohammed Ghalibaf, he comes out and he says, what happened? I thought the well was going to blow up. I thought the pipeline was going to blow up. And so it's like day after day, week after week, Donald Trump's plan, Operation Freedom, or blocking the naval blockade, blocking the Strait of Hormuz, entering the Strait of Hormuz, not getting help from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, which was huge. All of these things pile on that list of strategic W's for Iran. And how long is this going to go on before somebody in the administration or somebody says, we've really got to can this, and it's becoming increasingly concerning because what did somebody say last night when we were on the call-in show? Gas is $7 in California, So that's scary, scary stuff. People always do the fear mongering, war mongering, it's doomsday, get your canned food, stack up on your guns. And I will never go that far with this conflict, but I mean, this is the closest that we've been to like really an economic crisis in a long time. And I think we're entering the beginning stage or really the middle stage of what is about to turn into economic turmoil for the United States. It'll happen over time here if we keep going.
I think Hannity did an interview with Trump after he met with Xi Jinping. Let me see if we can react to that full interview, by the way.
Yeah. And some really, really interesting things said by Xi Jinping as well. He spoke about this theory. I think it's called, I can't even remember what the theory was called, but he was pretty much entertaining the notion that the United States is declining power. And when a declining power that still is the number 1 hegemon in the world is approached by the developing power that's going to be from number 2 to number 1, steal their spot, there's going to be inevitable warfare unless the first power concedes to the second power. So Xi Jinping kind of like vaguely noted at the fact that the United States and China will eventually enter like a full-scale conflict at some point because they're going to go head-to-head for that number 1 spot in the near future. Then Trump responded on Truth Social. So we'll get into all that, but go ahead. You can play the interview.
Yeah, no, I'm pulling up Hangout with Hannity. It looks like he did a couple of interviews on Air Force One, and I'll pull up a couple of things here. Okay, let me keep playing this, and we'll react to Hannity's interviews.
Sovereignty is all about its position opposite to its regional partners, wants to destroy Israel, doesn't want to be a member of the global community of nations, and wants to eliminate the great
Can I read
Satan.
some chats very quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Get these. Jake from Afar and Prince Lime, thank you so much again. I'm going to find your handle here. Jake from Afar says, keep up the good work, boys. Riyadh, you're killing it. Sad to see the State of the Union, but refreshing to see a young, articulate mind that gets it. Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you for the 20. And then Shrimp Paste 1692 says, love you, brothers. Keep up the great work. Salam alaikum. Wa alaikum salam, bro. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sagno Spray, hey, what's up? When are home prices going to crash, though? I don't know. It's not something I can give an estimate on. Hopefully soon, but that's far-fetched at this point. And that's it.
All right. Cool.
So this is a nation that has spent close to 5 decades.
And this literally came out minutes ago. Trump on if Xi will provide military equipment to Iran. So we'll cover that next.
Digging deep, creating redundancy. And what we see now is a lack of command and control, that operational command and control, where these units that have the missiles, that have the drones, they've got the capability to operate within what's known as commander's intent, kind of a mission, a broad mission statement. I don't need my boss to tell me what to do. He already did early on, and I'm going to continue.
Yeah, they did before. That was Ali Khamenei. He did that before he died. He literally put out, what needs to be done if he was to be assassinated, and they're going through it now. This is why this whole concept of like assassinating people is not going to help. Now, Iranians practice something called the mosaic defense, which the mosaic defense guys is basically a defense structure where you have what's called second strike capability. Second strike capability is the ability to attack even if your government is decapitated. They learned this from watching Saddam Hussein get toppled because he had a top-heavy government where everything had to go through him. What they did, they said, look, we're going to have a decentralized military where if a triggering event happens, we will already have predetermined targets, predetermined leadership. What is it? Is it 39 provinces in Iran, if I'm not mistaken? 39?
Yeah.
There's 39 provinces in Iran with their own sections of the IRGC, okay? And the IRGC is a completely different part of the government, chat. They don't answer to anyone else except for the supreme leader. So he already had these instructions. 31. So they already had their instructions put in place, right, to bomb certain locations. And if anything were to happen, that is why when the supreme leader was killed, within 1 hour, missiles were going towards Israel, missiles were going towards, and drones were going towards Tel Aviv, Haifa, the U.S. bases all across the Gulf. So they don't need a leader in place to be able to attack. And that's what's going on here. So this whole concept of like assassinating people and thinking that, oh yeah, we kill Ali Khamenei and the top 50 people in the military, it means absolutely nothing because the Iranians have already created a military literally to have that second straight capability that I told you guys about before.
Unless I hear something different. Guess what? I'm not going to hear anything different because my command and control network has gone away. So you're going to see this type of...
That command and control network is not needed, stupid. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, yo, this thing is retarded. See, this is why, guys, it's so important for you guys to watch the news with a grain of salt, bro. Because unfortunately, a lot of these guys that get on these shows think they know what they're talking about or whatever, and it's kind of crazy how me and my brother give y'all more accurate analysis than these, like, experts. These experts don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they clearly don't understand there is no real command and control with the IRGC. It's decentralized for that very reason, so that if you do go ahead and kill high-ranking members, if you do go ahead and assassinate individuals, it doesn't matter. That does not stop their ability to continue to fight. Okay? And they had to make it this way because they're fighting against the United States and against Israel. Both nuclear-armed powers, both powers that have very capable intelligence services where the intelligence services can compromise, infiltrate, and, get assassinations across. So they had to make their ability to retaliate this way, where it's completely autonomous of the structure within the leadership.
Capability and resilience.
Yeah, on the other side, there are indications that the U.S. has significantly depleted its stockpile of key munitions, including precision strike, THAAD, and Patriot missiles as well. What does this mean not only for this conflict, but potentially future conflicts?
Well, it's conflicts where they might occur. Look, every one of these combatant commanders, European Command, Indo-Pac Command, Southern Command, all of them rely on the same stockpiles that are being used right now very liberally, have been used very liberally and effectively against Iran, the Central Command. So all of those combatant commanders go forward on a routine basis, daily, minute by minute. They evaluate their ability to execute their tasks, and it's all about their readiness posture. And a part of that readiness posture is access to the stockpiles that all of them rely on simultaneously. So we have always understood, irrespective of Epic Fury, that those stockpiles must be routinely replenished. And through the normal operations that we've conducted over the past 20 years, those overseas contingency operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, we have dwindled those stockpiles, but we continue to build them up. And what we've seen now with Epic Fury is clearly, I would state with some level of confidence, that they've been depleted. I could not quantify what that looks like, nor would I add an adjective to it. All I'd say is it's been depleted. There has to be a legitimate effort across the board to make sure that we reach that level, that minimum essential level to operate along those tasks. So it's not surprising at all that we're probably at a level that bears some significant consideration of making this a priority moving forward.
Yeah, Major General James Spider Marks, thanks so much for joining us.
Some perspective now. Joining us is CNN national security analyst Alex Politzis. So what do you make of the administration's claims, obliterated, degraded everything, military gone, missiles mostly depleted? If Iran retains the ability to resume full-scale military strikes, I mean, do you think we've knocked out their facilities as much as the administration is saying?
It sounds like some of it actually may have been recovered as well. So some of the entrances to the tunnels to underground facilities and caves or things of that nature had been struck.
Yeah,
The
that's
Iranians were
one
able to
thing
dig
as
some out
well.
and get access to things that
Real
were
quick,
buried.
that's another thing. And I've been saying this. This extended ceasefire is really hurting us. Like stopping, I don't know if it was as smart, but at the same time, you've got the liability of the Gulf nations always getting struck as a result of us striking them. I think that was the main motivation for pausing the conflict. However,
Yeah.
pausing the conflict has now introduced arguably a larger issue, which is the fact that Iran has so much time to clear out the rubble from the entrances that we bombed in order to make it difficult for them to access these underground facilities where the missiles are, where the drones are. And then we've also allowed them to formulate a plan. And while they have all this free time kicking their feet up, sitting back, waiting for the United States to strike again, potentially, which is where it's leading because talks have been futile, to say the least. They're talking about cutting internet cables. They're talking about making more money on the Strait. They're talking about deeper allegiances and ties with Russia and China that they already work with closely. Now they've got routes in Pakistan for trade and other things like that. I mean, it's just like as time goes, Iran is just building the blocks and they're getting ready for another attack. They're bolstering their economy. They're getting stronger. This is not like pro-IGC, propaganda. That's what we're seeing, and as time goes and we get deeper intelligence analysis on what's happening on the ground here in Iran, we're coming to see that the more time we give them, the harder it's going to be for us to restart the war and get back to where we were, make things even worse. And then something I didn't even mention amongst all of those things are so problematic. The biggest thing that I didn't mention is their nuclear program. They might be enriching uranium to a higher level as we speak right now. Maybe they're really close to a bomb. Maybe they've already made a bomb. We don't know what they're doing. Trump tries to act like he knows what's happening. All of this stuff is underground. If they don't know what's going on with the missile system because the spokespeople are saying one thing in Iran, our intelligence is saying another, well then probably the same thing is true for the nuclear program as well. Who knows what they've got going on? So the longer this ceasefire drags on, man, the worse it's actually for the United States in regards to reaching our goals, which is like no nukes, no missiles. Like that's exactly what they're building on.
Yeah, I mean, for them, time is on their side and it's not on our side. That's really what it comes down
Absolutely
to. Time
not.
is not on our side.
Yeah.
Time is on theirs. They can weather the storm when it comes to a blockade or sanctions. They've been sanctioned for 50 years, dude. So for them, it doesn't really matter. They've already found ways to get around it, whether it's, shadow fleets or getting support via the Caspian Sea. They figured out, ways to kind of get around this crap. We haven't. And Trump has a midterms that's literally around the corner, that's breathing down his neck, and he knows this.
And even with the missiles, it's a question of how many launchers they have left, right? So if they've got 6,000 to 8,000 missiles, but they've only got a couple hundred launchers, that's a strategic choke point. But it's clear the Iranians have been able to recover since then. And also, I mean, when speaking to Central Command and asking about battle damage assessments, even in the beginning they said, look, it's very difficult for us to get there. It's going to take a little time for us to figure this out. So I think there's been a little clarity after action there. I think the Iranians have recovered some, but it is quite clear that they retain substantive military capabilities at this point.
So would Central Command have anticipated this? I mean,
and it's kind of crazy because, in the beginning of the war, they were like, yo, we've destroyed them. The Navy is in the sea. The Air Force is gone. They're, they have no more missile capabilities. I remember the Israelis were saying, like Netanyahu or somebody from the Israeli government was saying they only have 100 launchers left. Like, bruh, such cap.
That the Iranians could dig
Such
out.
cap. And you knew it was cap because they were saying that so early on.
Yeah.
It was like on the 4th and 5th day, the Pentagon or Pete Hegseth really was saying, we destroyed this much missile launchers. We did this, we did that. And then, they were working hard at it, but he was clearly overextending the actual accomplishments of the United States military. And then now we're getting the truth. And that's what always happens. After time, we actually see what really happened. And who knows, in the next 2 or 3 months, it may even become worse. And
just so you guys know, the reason for this is because this war is wildly unpopular. Okay. Like even amongst people in the Republican Party, this war is very, very unpopular. The only people that really like this war are Zionists and MAGA-tards. Like, these are the only people that are still, like, cheering this war on, dude. It's so foolish.
Senators are starting to flip. They're starting to be against the war.
Yep.
So it's a matter of time, really. It is a matter of time until everybody turns their back on the administration.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, the fact that the campaign stopped when it did was also a political decision, right? So I don't think that they anticipated, that potentially, I mean, obviously as reality it could have happened, but in terms of the timing, when it happened, what would be left, how long that would last, would the Iranians have the ability to dig out? Those are all factors that wouldn't have been really weighed into military planning, but they're a reality of the battlefield at the moment. Do
you think President Trump is going to ask China for help regarding the Strait of Hormuz? I mean, actually sort of having them be the power broker over the...
That's not a bad question. But I mean, honestly, I don't even think the Iranians would listen to China like that if they try to tell them anything. Like, no one can really tell Iran anything because this is existential war, bro. Like, kind of like we told Ukraine, like, yo, we're not gonna support y'all ninjas. You guys gotta like give up or whatever. Like when Trump tried to fight Zelensky, if you remember February 2025 when they had that epic fight in the White House. Like, Iran has way more capability than Ukraine does, right? And it has more leverage than Ukraine does. So like, why would they, like, China's not going to tell them what they can do? Because I would argue Ukraine is still running the fight and we support them way more than
So much
China
more.
supports Iran. So it's like,
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
We're
So,
giving them our best stuff.
yeah.
You know, the argument has been from the Ukrainian side recently that they have these new technologically complex drones that are going to override the Russians and make it difficult for their invasion. And we're going to draw back how much land they've actually captured so far. And I will admit, in the last year, Russia's been back and forth. They've been on and off. It seems like they're now restarting their, who knows what number it
Very
is now,
slow.
their bombing campaign, but it's slow. And I think they're chopping the wood slowly, intentionally. That's kind of the idea in Russia. And now, allegedly, the populace in Russia is becoming frustrated about how slow it's been, despite the fact that they are winning effectively. But yeah, we've given Ukraine so much advanced weaponry. We've spent way too much money on that conflict. In regards to China and Iran, China gives them a couple missiles there,
Yeah.
some satellite. I mean, this is bullshit for China. China's just like, yeah, here, nigga, like take this bullshit.
Yeah.
This should do the job. And the Iranians operate from such a position of like disadvantage that for them any piece of technology, any piece of weaponry already adds to their like large stockpile. So for them it just couples in nicely. This maybe is why that surface to air missile hit the F-15. Maybe it was Chinese radar. So they've got the missiles, they've got all the good stuff. They just need maybe a little satellite there, maybe a little Russian intelligence there, and it makes it very difficult. It proves a difficult deal.
To make it simple for you guys, in other words, the Iranians are far more autonomous than the Ukrainians are. So, in other words, the Ukrainians need us way more than the Iranians need the Chinese, and the Ukrainians have not been giving up on the war. So you think the Iranians are going to give up? Fuck no, bro. And they need less help from China than Ukraine needs from us. So what do you think is going to happen? China can't tell them nothing, dude. Like they just can't. And China knows in the back of their mind.
Trump is likely telling them.
What was that?
No, that's what Trump is probably begging him to do, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, and the other thing, too, is, like, at the end of the day, like, China knows that a big part of the reason why Trump did this war is this is what I think Trump's grand plan was here, okay? The grand plan was this. January, topple the Venezuelan government, take control of the oil, take control of the energy that China had just been investing in and was getting a significant amount of the energy from. Boom, right? Then, February, topple the Iranian government, get it done in 96 hours, hope that people are going to go ahead and topple the government and take control of the energy. Spin it back, go back to the South America, take over Cuba. Cuba would be crippled by then after about 1 month of no energy from Venezuela from Maduro being kidnapped. And then finally go to China at the end of March with a lot of leverage of taking over Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran's energy resources, taking over Cuba and then taking Venezuelan and Iranian energy, and coming to Xi Jinping from the position of, we control the majority of the oil, we want to strike some kind of deal. That's what I think Trump was trying to do, because if you guys remember, this summit meeting was supposed to happen at the end of March into early April. It didn't. He had to push it back until May because the Iranian war, he did not anticipate it would take this long. But he was hoping to have all of this done, have his ducks all in a row, and then go to China in a position of power by controlling Iran and Venezuela, which were responsible for getting China a significant amount of cheap oil, cheap energy. Because remember, Venezuela and Iran were both suffering from crippling fucking sanctions. And the only person that was really buying their oil, or a majority of their oil, both countries, was China, and buying a significant amount of it at a discounted rate. So Trump going there, controlling the oil that they used to be able to get at a cheap price, would have been a huge, advantage from him from a leverage / geopolitical, discussion talk. But he didn't have that. He doesn't have that. That's why he kept pushing the summit back, chat. That was his goal originally, and it failed. So
Yeah. And Marco Rubio has just sat down and done some interviews, I think ahead or right after the summit. And this is kind of like the concern with this administration is China. China's been a big focus, which is why they've done all of these things. But Marco Rubio was saying it's obvious China's rushing to be the #1 global superpower. And you can see he's careful with his rhetoric and his speech. He doesn't want to say we're trying to stop them, but he gives the most political circumvented answer of saying we're trying to stop them. You know what I mean? And they did sanction. Yeah, he had to change his name, right?
Yeah, I think what happened was they on like his travel documents or whatever into China, they had to change his last name or change the spelling on it a little bit so that he would be let in. Yeah, because he says some shit about. There's a couple things that China is very sensitive about, and one of them is like their human rights violations. So they get really mad about that. That's actually what got the mayor out of California jammed up, is that she sent out like a message at the direction of some like, PRC, agent operative, saying that China was not involved in some human rights violations. And she put it like on a website or some shit like that. And that's what ended up getting her charged. So China is super sensitive and gets mad whenever you mention certain things. And look, let's be honest here. China, guys, it's a communist country. They run on propaganda. There's a reason why the Tank Man picture to this day, and I think it's Tiananmen Square, if I'm not mistaken. If you guys know what I'm talking about, this picture right here.
Because
this picture right here, chat. Look at this shit, bro. If I go Tank Man. This picture is illegal in China, chat. This picture is literally illegal in China. Okay? It's an unidentified individual, presumed to be a Chinese man, who stood in front of a column of Type 59 tanks on Chang'an Avenue near Tiananmen Square in Beijing on June 5th, 1989. The confrontation occurred one day after the government of China forcibly cleared the square following 6 weeks of pro-democracy demonstrations, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of people, primarily in the areas surrounding the square. This picture is fucking illegal, dude. You will go to jail for even having this. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, China has a tight, you know what I mean? Niggas know how to run the propaganda mill properly. You know what I mean? But the point I'm trying to make is that where was I going with this? I was going to tell you guys something. Damn, I lost my train of thought. What was I forgot what I was saying before. What was I saying before that, Riyadh?
Their propaganda. You were talking about the United States scrambling for the power. We were speaking about Rubio, Hannity. Something along those lines.
Sorry. Yeah, Marco Rubio got jammed up. Thank you. Marco Rubio, China didn't like him because he had made comments about their human rights violations, and China doesn't like that.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason why this picture is illegal. And the reason why it's illegal is because he was protesting the tanks after people were killed in a sign of protest for trying to push for democracy. So China controls information flow quite a bit. Everything is done through WeChat, right? Which is obviously government filtered.
We've knocked out their facilities as much as the administration.
And it's a police state. Fox News showed yesterday they had like hundreds of cameras all around Beijing.
Yeah, they were trying to do some propaganda press run before Trump got out of there. Did you see that? That was hilarious. They were scrambling to create some. I saw a clip on Twitter. They were like, I'm surprised the Chinese government let that shit slide. It's because they were with Trump. Otherwise, that shit would have never flown.
Them niggas would be in jail, bruh. Those niggas
yeah, I'll try to find it right now. 100%.
Yeah, that's one thing about these Asian countries, bro. Niggas don't fuck around. Did you see that North Korea put a law in place where if Kim Jong-un is assassinated, they're going to launch their nukes?
Yeah, I saw that. And you tweeted and your tweet went viral. Like a real ass nigga.
I said he's a real ass nigga. I mean,
imagine not to be a Kim Jong-un apologist here, but like, let's just put ourselves in the shoes of everybody. Imagine you're Kim Jong-un. The United States has now threatened to invade Cuba, threatened sanctions on Mexico for supporting Cuba, which they've historically done, destroyed Venezuela's regime in like 2 seconds, attacked Iran in the most unprecedented, unexpected attack that we've seen in recent history, honestly. And then, at the same time, he's the only other like real nuclear threat in the world that we try to worry about. So for him, he's like, let me set some shit up just in case Donald Trump gets a funny idea, because he's been erratic. He's been super volatile. So that was really funny. I could pull your tweet up here. That was hilarious. He said, this is how you know he's a real nigga.
Yeah, he is a real nigga for that, bro. Like, because the reason why is because, like, I'm glad that you mentioned all that shit. Like, you got to put yourself in your enemy's shoes, right? Like, they're looking at it like, if this nigga dares fucking, like, assassinate me, y'all are getting nuked. Like, you better not fucking try it. Like, it's a statement, like, because you saw what they did to Ali Khamenei, bro. So he's like, if y'all assassinate me, bro, y'all niggas are. And here's the thing with Korea. Here it goes right here. So, and I got to double check and make sure this shit is real, but I think it's real. Just North Korea updates the constitution to automatically launch nuclear strike if Kim Jong-un is assassinated. Like, what?
Hold on, it's blocked on my end. Maybe you have it on a different screen.
Oh, hold on. Is it not there? What the fuck? Okay, give me one second.
I don't know. Maybe just turn the screen share off.
I'll turn it back on right now. Bro, That shit had me fucking dead, dude. Hold on. Like, you got to respect it, bro. You're like, yo, what?
Yeah, I have it here. Realest nigga on earth. 1.7 billion views. Let's go. That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, no, Bricks News, it's probably true. I don't think they typically lie about big headlines like that. But yeah, it's like, you know, all the granular details, they're a little bit wrong, but the big news, they're pretty good. Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm not going to lie, like, you know,
Shit's
not to
hilarious,
sound
bro.
crazy, like, you know, these dictators and authoritarians, they have aura sometimes, you know, so they set up these policies to ensure the United States doesn't try and infest this, like, you know, policeman state, democratic control ideology into the nation, which is what we've been trying to do in the Middle East for like 20 something plus years. Yeah, I thought that was very funny. But do you have the Rubio Hannity interview ready? I have it queued up as well. If you want to share it.
Not Marco Rubio. I got the other one. I got the one with Trump on China. So
Let's do both.
We can do
Let's
Rubio.
do both. These are both going to be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You share it. Yes, and I double checked, bro. Yes, it's according to North Korea's own nuclear policy law. So North Korea has officially codified a dead man switch or automatic retaliation policy in its nuclear doctrine. The key provision from the 2022 law on the policy of the nuclear forces reportedly, in the case of command and control system over the state nuclear forces is placed in danger owing an attack to hostile force, a nuclear strike shall be launched automatically and immediately. So this applies if Kim Jong-un is killed, incapacitated, or if the leadership command system is under and or judged to be attacked. Bro, see that, and that's the thing, like, look, it's all about deterrence, man. I mean, like, yo, Donald Trump said, oh, I got a red button too and mine works. What did Donald Trump do after? He went to fucking North Korea, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, Trump respects other people that have power. This is why he respects Xi Jinping. This is why he respects Vladimir Putin. This is why he respects Kim Jong-un. Don't forget. Look, guys, people will be forgetting that. Let me show y'all this shit real quick. Kim Jong-un. Trump. People will be forgetting that, like, Trump met this nigga, bro. Like, hold on, let me see. Look, this is a historic moment right here. Let me share this with y'all real quick.
First president to do it. He crossed the border right in front of him.
And this all came after they argued with each other about nuclear weapons. Trump respects power. I ain't gonna lie. This was a very, like, this is gonna go down in history. Like,
yeah.
I was shocked when this actually happened.
It's pretty oracle, I'm not gonna lie.
Good to see you again.
Bro, you know those Secret Service agents and Kim Jong-un's protection detail, both those niggas was sweating, bro.
Yeah, sweating. Well, you know what it probably is? The security detail is probably terrified and nervous because Trump is going to do the handshake pull and shit.
Yeah.
And then Kim Jong-un is going to get mad and then run to his desk to hit the big red button.
Yeah.
No, but really, Trump does that, like, that pull-in thing. I always get nervous when he shakes a world leader's hand.
Yeah, he does that shit, bro. That shit is so stupid that he like it's it's very rude. And he does that shit all the time. And I was like, nigga, like, yo, okay, do that shit with France and shit, fine. But like, nigga, when you're meeting these dictators, like, chill, man. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, don't do that shit. Don't do that shit with Putin. Don't do that shit with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah,
like, you can do that shit with, like, Macron and everything, who no one cares about them. But these are not the guys to do that shit with. Especially this nigga. He's crazy. He's really crazy.
Yeah,
Kim Jong-un. If there's any crazy dictator, this is one of them. So.
Like, bro, like, in Korea, for those that don't know, like, if you commit, like, a crime against the country, like, against the state, like, you don't just get punished, like, 3 generations go to jail, nigga. Like,
if you sneeze the wrong way, bro. If you sneeze without covering your mouth, your head is chopped off in North Korea, bro. Like, they don't play no games. I try to always do research on North Korea and, like, see what's going on.
Yeah.
And all the journalists there are, like, walking on the thinnest ice. They pull out their phone in their hotel room like, hey, guys, it's 3 a.m. right now. I'm not supposed to be doing this. And, you know, it goes to tell, like, the North Koreans, they don't play any games when it comes to propaganda, bad press, media. None of that shit over there. Big fat frame of Kim Jong-un in every corner of the house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and if you take it down or anything like that, it's like a crime, bro. It's like a big crime. You go to it's like
crime,
espionage.
Punishable crime.
There was an American guy that famously went to jail for taking down like a poster, a pro North Korea poster, a government poster, and they put him in jail and worked him and probably waterboarded him, all that.
Yeah.
That's a fucking crazy that he crossed the line. Oh, you saw that? Kim Jong-un walked into him, so he wouldn't pull him. You saw that? Look.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Boom, and he walks in.
Yeah, get very close.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And just so you guys know, North Korea does have intercontinental ballistic missiles, bro, with nuclear capabilities. That's why we don't fuck with these niggas, bro. And, you know, I hate to say it, but that's the only way that you're going to ensure that you don't get attacked. You know?
That's the thing. Iran poses no threat to the United States or really the U.S. soil.
Yeah.
Like, because they just don't have intercontinentals, you know? They're
North
not
Korea,
even really that close. I don't think they're even close to even getting those. You know, North Korea is far more capable when it comes to making things painful for the U.S. They could hit us domestically easily, you know? So that's like the scary part about North Korea, and they're crazier. I just had a super chat I forgot to read. Kachima says, W Breakdown, W Dynamic Duo. Thank you so much. Appreciate the 10. Sorry, I didn't see that just until now.
But yeah, I've always thought like Kim Jong-un is like the most entertaining world leader, and he just makes me laugh. Like I'd be like, but no, I didn't know you do that too, Riyadh. Yeah, I'd be randomly researching North Korea shit. Like I'd be always researching, like.
I always try to see. I mean, stuff like that really intrigues me.
Yeah.
Like I always am intrigued by these countries that operate differently, but you just can't get the most information with North Korea. You know, the most you get is like that one lady who escaped the country and is always on Joe Rogan. What's her name? But like the things she says, I feel like are just fabricated. So I don't even know if what she's saying is true.
The chick that escaped.
Forgot her name. Yeah.
Yeah. She's
One
like
in the
some
chat
chick.
will put it.
Yeah, she's some chick that like escaped North Korea and shit like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
President Trump has just walked across the demarcation line that made
that's crazy, crossing that demarcation line.
him the first U.S. president to visit our country.
I just want to say that this is my honor.
And to be honest, he'll probably be the only one. Because people forget that Barack Obama was very harsh on North Korea. Barack Obama was extremely hawkish on North Korea. So this is why this was so historic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Trump definitely.
Wasn't Kim Jong-un doing nuclear testing during Obama's administration, Riyadh? I'm gonna double check.
I believe he was, and that's why Obama got so upset.
Yeah, I'll double check. But go ahead. You were gonna say something.
No, Trump is just very good at least in his first term, he was good at building relations with these foreign countries that we had no ties to or that were direct adversaries of us or ones that we were even in somewhat of a vague shadow or cold war with. So, you know, he did a really good job of that. And you got to give him credit. His first term was so much better than his second.
I'm fact checking it right now. Chat, you guys are going to notice more that like when me and my brother are talking, I'll just fact check shit because I don't like not being accurate. So let's see here. I'll keep playing this while I
Really expect it. We were in Japan for the G20. We came over and I said, hey, I'm over here. I want to call it Chairman Kim. And we got to meet, and stepping across that line was a great honor. A lot of progress has been made. A lot of friendships have been made, and this has been in particular a great friendship. So
Nigga didn't utter a word.
Oh, sorry. I would invite him right now to the White House.
That nigga ain't going to the White House.
Nah, he won't. He's worried about. Okay, you want to do the Marco Rubio one, right? I'll end the CNN shit. You want?
Yeah, we could do Trump and then Rubio. And let me read these chats very quickly.
Go ahead, read
Excuse
your
me,
chats.
Andrew Niggas, nice name, says W Byron and Myron, love these moments. W y'all, thank you so much, bro. Appreciate it. Fifth Elemental says, bro, you can't even fart in North Korea. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Thanks for the super. North Korea hates Israel, by the way. That's from It's Leo Reaction. Yeah, they do. And for all the right reasons, obviously. Any country, if you notice, any country that does not have to kiss up to American ass or kiss the feet of America will always acknowledge like Israel is a problem state. So it's really just a matter of the ones that acknowledge Israel are more concerned about the United States and ruining their relations with the U.S. more than anything else. That's what it boils down to.
Okay. Let's do Rubio first because it'll make more chronological sense.
Okay, sure.
And I'm double checking this thing with the nuclear weapons.
Here, let me just crank the volume up here.
Oh, hold on, let me.
Top geopolitical foe.
Yeah, it's both our top political challenge geopolitically, and it's also the most important relationship for us to manage. I mean, it's a big, powerful country. It's going to continue to grow, but we're going to have interests of ours that are going to be in conflict with interests of theirs. And to avoid wars and maintain peace and stability in the world, we're going to have to manage those. There are clearly areas where they're so important for the United States that we're going to have to raise those issues, and we'll continue to do so. The president's going to continue to do so. There might be some areas of cooperation too, and we want to make sure we don't walk away from those.
You know, it's interesting. The one thing the president always says, he's America first. He understands President Xi is going to be China first, Putin will be Russia first. I think having that understanding is a little bit unique, historically speaking, as if we should be surprised that they put their country above ours.
Actually, foreign policy and national security matters work best when you understand that point. Every country should do what's in the best interest of their country. And then where there are areas of alignment, where what's in our best interest and their best interests are aligned, that's where you have cooperation.
Unless it's Iran. Can't do anything for your benefit if you're Iran, though. Okay, so I double-checked here, guys. So it says here, so basically, North Korea got their nuclear bomb. They got their first nuclear test October 9, 2006 under George Bush, under Kim Jong-un, the second's rule. This is when North Korea demonstrated how to work in nuclear device. They had their second test in 2009, early in Obama's presidency, and then Kim Jong-un joined. He took power in 2011. They had tests in 2013, 2016, and then September 2016, 2017, and they ramped up. So basically what Obama did was he put a heavy sanctions on them and containment and isolation, trying to get them to the table to negotiate, but they didn't. And then another thing that pissed him off was they had some escalations. Basically, the Cheonan sinking and Yanpiang shelling, pre-Kim Jong-un, but during Obama. So basically, they tried to stop them and or prevent them, but it didn't work. And they tried the sanction, it didn't work, and they have a nuclear bomb anyway. So, but a lot of this did happen during later in the Bush administration, and a lot of it happened with more progression during the Obama administration. So, yeah. But yeah, so they've had it since 20. They've had it for almost 20 years. Then, so they've been a nuclear state since 2006. I didn't know that. I thought they became a nuclear state in the 2010s, but actually even earlier.
Well, Trump just conceded, right? Like Obama tried to fix what he could while it was fresh, and to no success. So Trump just said, "Hey, we're not going to stop these niggas from anything they want to build. No point in even attempting to halt nuclear proliferation or anything like that when it comes to these Asian countries, just North Korea as a whole." So, yeah, it was a lost cause, and they're crazier. They're crazier. They're a rogue nation. They really are. So.
Yeah, they really.
But
their definition
Rubio
of nation.
Yeah, they are very rogue.
I think they're more reckless
world.
than Russia. I think they're more reckless than. I think they're the most reckless.
Not
country.
even close.
Like,
not even close. Maybe I'll be a contrarian, play devil's advocate. I feel like Russia's been really fair. I felt that they were patient with the expansion of NATO. Obviously they invaded Ukraine. Maybe that wasn't the best set of circumstances or choice that they made, but they were probably planning on doing that for years. They really got pushed to the edge before they did that. So. North Korea is in their own lane. One thing I want to say really quick too, in regards to Marco Rubio, I don't know if you've noticed, I've seen it a lot on TikTok, on Instagram and stuff. I'm looking at comment sections on YouTube. There has been an uptick in support for Marco Rubio and acknowledgement of how well-spoken he is, how level-headed he is, how intelligent he is. There's been like this uptick in glaze. I don't know what's been going on, but it seems like right now we're not even in the end of 26 or 27 yet. No one started their presidential election race. No one's announced that they're running. It seems like he might be the front runner out of the GOP. I don't know. I don't know if there's really much chance for Vance. Big prediction, but it seems like this guy is really going to be passed the torch, out of the GOP, because a lot of people have been glazing him recently.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been and the reason why is because when you look at him and Trump speak, it's night and day. Marco Rubio is able to articulate in a much better fashion. He's able to take the president's policies and put it in a far more palatable and understandable fashion that isn't as crude and, I guess, lacking of detail. But Marco Rubio is a very politician. People forget that he's been around for a very long time. He's been doing this for a long time.
That's what he has over Vance. Vance has got no experience. I think Vance only had 2 years in the Senate before he got promoted to vice president, which a lot of people argue was conspiratorial. He got planted there, but because of his connections to big tech and whatever. However, Marco, he's got skin in the game, and he's ran for president before. So, it's very interesting to see him in this position now. It's weird. Like, I've seen a shift with him. Like, he has been a lot more refined, a lot more well-spoken. We'll see in this interview, but if you watched his White House briefing, too, when he filled in for Carolyn Levitt, again, he was very charismatic, and I'm seeing it. Like, Stephen A. Smith is like, I got Marco Rubio. I want him to win. Like, all these guys now are chiming in. So it's interesting. And then you had that development like 2 months ago. Trump was saying the donor class is going to get behind Rubio. You know, so who knows what happens? Who
Yeah,
knows?
no, I mean, it like, again, it's just because he's so polar opposite to Trump. Trump's inability to really articulate himself in an intelligent manner. So whenever he speaks, you're able to get quite a bit more clarity to what the president's trying to do when you listen to Marco Rubio. And this is kind of what I did when I was watching the campaign, when Trump was campaigning. I'd actually purposely watch a Trump interview, then I'd go watch a J.D. Vance interview, and J.D. Vance would be a lot better at kind of, elucidating what Trump is trying to say with what he was saying. Like, he would say, I'm going to end the war in 24 hours. Okay, what the fuck does that mean, though? What does that actually look like? And then I would watch J.D. Vance interview, and he would be like, okay, we would put like, demarcation lines, all this other bullshit. We would create like military no-go zones. We would do this. We would, promise not to join NATO promise Ukraine can't join for 20 years, some shit like that. So he would actually go deeper into the stuff. But yeah, Marco Rubio is a superior politician. So J.D. Vance has been in the game for a long time, way more experience, obviously able to articulate things in a lot better fashion. But regardless, there's no way we're voting for him. Like, fuck that.
No,
he's an even worse
still a shill,
Zionist.
right?
Yeah, he's a big Zio shill. That's why I call him Marco.
He's got
Jubio.
Zio money all in his pockets, no doubt. Miriam Adelson, everybody's all over him.
Yeah, he's an Adelson like huge puppet. But no, there is no denying that he's a good politician. He knows how to speak, and he's able to be a very good mouthpiece for the administration. If I'm not mistaken, is he still the national security advisor too? He's Secretary of State and the national security advisor? Because when they fired Mike Waltz, I don't think they ever filled Mike Waltz's job, bro. Like, let me double check, man. I think he's still acting national security advisor too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, like they never replaced him with
they never replaced. Yeah,
because Mike Waltz got fired for the bullshit he was doing Netanyahu, trying to egg on a war earlier. Right, in the whole Signal Gate situation with Pete Hegseth. But yeah, like Rubio's been doing two jobs, I guess, because I'll be honest, he hasn't really been a Secretary of State as much as he should be. Like, he should be the one talking to the Iranians, not the fucking Witkoff and dumbass Jared Kushner. Like, what's going on here? Like,
yeah, and that would be a lot more fruitful. But like even with the envoy in the Middle East, and J.D. Vance tried to go, and it proved useless. At the end of the day, the demands that we're making is what is halting the ultimate peace deal. It's not even who's going. Although Jared Kushner, Stephen Witkoff are definitely not the brightest people. But, it doesn't matter. If you send the smartest guy, you could send anybody there. You can send the smartest guy on the planet who has the best mouthpiece, the best orator. You give him the set of plans that Trump is asking for, he's going to fail. So it doesn't matter who comes out of the GOP. You've got to change the policies. You've got to change everything that this administration has done. You've got to untie it, make it undone. Before anybody with a brain takes you serious. But yeah, no, I've noticed there's been an uptick of support for this guy. I think he's going to be a problem in 28 for sure. And the Midnight Snack 12 a.m. says, thoughts on how the World Cup is going to... All right, Super Chat's cut off. Give me 1 second. Thoughts on how the World Cup is going to go with current events going on in the world. Remember, Iran is in the tournament. Yeah, I know Trump allowed them in the tournament. He announced that like a week or so, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But maybe it'll be political. I don't know. It's a good question. Thanks for the Super Chat. It's definitely going to be a little bit more politically tense than other ones, that's for sure, with all the economic disaster Europe and Asia are facing right now. So,
yeah.
And that's where you have alliance.
Okay. So let's, I'm going to end my YouTube stream here, guys. Come on over to Kick or go to my brother's stream. Riaz Report is tagged in the thing. Either or come to my Kick or go to my brother's YouTube channel, Riaz Report, and continue watching the stream. But I'm going to end my YouTube stream here, guys. I turned it on for a little bit, but I'm getting off the JTube right now. So come on over. I'm going to end Party and X as well. So come on over and I'm ending Party, Twitter, and YouTube. We're just going to be